Hello there, and it is the 5th of October 2025 with me, James, and this is Damn Good Coffee Time. So, to anybody watching and who may be watching later, thank you very much, and let's dive into what has instigated me into doing a video this week. Uh, After certainly a period of quietness on this channel generally, although this week I uploaded a series of short clips from the David Lynch tribute in London, the Gathering of the Angels event at the Genesis Cinema. And a lot of those were just clips of questions from the David Lynch Creatives panel. Also, uh, then also for a number of people who were involved with Twin Peaks, like executive producer Sabrina Sutherland, Christabel, Jake Wardle, um, who else was there? Hawke, Michael Horse, of course. And there was a new person who played the FBI agent. He's a Welsh actor opposite the Agent Headley character. So there was a fair amount of people there, of course, and associated with either David Lynch projects or Twin Peaks. The Lynch Creatives panel, from which the short clips came from, had Dwayne Dunham, Dean Hurley, who else? Yeah, Frederick. Was it Frederick Elms? Yeah. So yeah, there's a fair few things going off there, obviously, from which I've uploaded some videos. But also, I uploaded a video of just glimpses of things going on there. That main video is 5+ minutes long, but it's really only brief clips from all the things going on there. Nothing like really long or anything too involved, like a long Q&A or anything like that. But in there, you can see a brief clip of Michael Horse, aka Deputy Hawke, and he's just standing in the street outside the venue talking to some people there. Funnily enough, when I arrived on the Sunday, I went up from, or should I say, down from Derby, came down from Derby on the Sunday morning fairly early so that I could get into London by 11 or 12 o'clock, and then got straight onto the tube to Stepney. Was it Stepney Green? Yeah, anyway, and that's where I went up to the Genesis Cinema there, and as soon as I got into the venue, queuing up just to, I don't think that I wasn't actually a queue, but I thought it was a queue, and I was stood behind a couple of people who I was hoping to see there anyway to meet, and there was just in front of me, there was just a moment away from me, there was Hawke stood there, Michael Horse. So it's, I like that element of proximity to the stars, and just the everydayness of it, that this festival, David Lynch tribute event, kind of has. I mean, obviously, it's up to the actors or whoever is there. It's up to them if they want to walk around just amidst the fans and attendees. It's not like some kind of general rule, obviously, but I, it's quite just a enjoyable atmosphere to be in when you're just brushing up against the somebody like Michael Horse, casually just standing around talking to people there. Um, I didn't go to one side or try to talk to him about anything myself. Um, at the end of the Sunday night's questionnaires Q&A, I did when she was coming back up through the cinema to exit. I did just by chance there was Christabel was actually walking up to the top of the venue, not directly past me, and then there was Sabrina Sutherland just to the side of me, and Jake Wardle as well, actually, who I noticed afterwards. And I did speak to Sabrina briefly. I said to her, um, thank you for coming. And she said, pardon, what, sorry? And repeated myself. And I said to her, oh, I'm not sure if you remember me from online, um, which sounds a bit daft, but why would I expect her to remember me out of many people and fans etc. who correspond with her on Facebook? But I just said to her regarding how she told me in reference to me talking about a variety of things. She sort of gave me the advice to be positive, and I said thank you for that. And she said that she asked, did it work? Was it good advice? So I said, yeah, I think so. Overall, I think to be positive is as good advice as you can get, apart from in the instance that it is not necessarily going to be an easy thing to do. There could be certain situations for you personally where you may find it difficult to be positive and things like that. But in that kind of a situation, then really the only thing to be said is just to try and do anything you can to manage to be positive, and that could involve, if you're into walking or whatever activities that help you pick yourself up, or if you need to go to the doctors or something like that. That's what I would advise. Just try and find any way you can to try and feel and be positive. So yeah, thank you to Sabrina for that. Thank you, Shiv, to her for being so um, pleasant to just briefly talk to like that in passing. There was nothing there to sort of make her stop to talk to me. And beyond, just a nod and a wink. It's just she's just someone who I've heard from various people that she's very easy to talk to, and they have a lot of time and gratitude, and then enjoy talking to her. That she has a very warm personality with a lot of the fans, and you know that's a really great thing, of course, and it brings so much to just an event like this, which was called a gathering of the angels, which gets its name from the three bits of the poem that Windham Earle sent out to Audrey, Donna, and Shelley, and this was, so it's kind of a windmill inspired name for the event, but it was actually also called a David Lynch tribute. And I mentioned about going to the event and various things to somebody online who's I've known through coffee time and so forth, and he was saying it must have been a fairly somber event this year, with Lynch passing in the start of the year, and so I suppose there was that aspect to it. Overall, I wouldn't say the event itself um, really seemed in and of itself somber at all, really. But I think that's more of an interior thing, something that you experience yourself, and I wanted to go to the event really to achieve that, some sense of closure, I suppose. However, I don't know if that kind of sounds a bit cliched or like some kind of American idea, but at the same time, in terms of its meaning, um, you know, what more would you expect to get from such an event, among amidst insights and enjoyment, than to get a sense of closure? Really, I think that's something that I would have hoped to get in a kind of general sense, and I think it did help me in that way, really, and I'm glad I went. Just kind of to experience it and to talk to people I met there, and I'm just happy that I actually knew a few people there, and the people who organised it as well were also very pleasant towards me, and so in response to Chris in the chat, hi there again, and good to see you as well. Fantastic to see you back for another live stream. Did you brush shoulders with the explosive stillness guy? I don't know even if I've really managed to explain or convey any sense of that through those short videos, which I were just put through StreamYard, and it's almost like it's doing a remix of different people talking there, because it mixed one person giving their questions with just randomly cut to a different person saying something like, I'm glad we can end there, and I hope that's a good point to end. It just cuts off from the explosive stillness guy, and he he came in as a last question in with the Lynch Creatives panel that was hosted by Andreas Halskov, and he did a really good job. I was happy to talk with him earlier in the day outside, sitting on a bench when Hawk was behind us as well. So um, anyway, he's an academic, and he wrote the book TV Peaks, and he's got another one coming out next year, Andreas. But the I can't honestly tell you what the explosive stillness theory means or entails, really, and I don't know who the guy was. I actually I posted about it and said, "Does anybody know who this guy is?" This explosive stillness theorist as such, and I haven't got any response. So I don't know who he does say his name actually, but I'd have to listen through it again and try and figure it out. Because if you could find him anyway, it would be through Facebook, I suppose. But uh, thanks for these comments. Yeah, it's I went there, and I stayed at the Travelodge just a few steps down from the venue. So as to just to make it as most enjoyable and easy for myself, just staying there on my own and without any hassle really, um, and just to have bumped into any people there who might have known who I was through online connections, and then I had somebody who came up to me because they were a friend on Facebook, but I didn't really remember adding them and stuff, but they just approached me, and it was nice to meet somebody like that. That was good. And if anybody recognizes me from coffee time, that's I really like that. I would say it's appreciated when particularly when I've not been very busy on the channel this year. And I don't know, GPM, if you noticed when when the Double R Club, Benjamin Louche, was doing his routine. He put the mic down on the stage, I think, and he started talking about laying it down and kind of made a bit of a joke about that, about saying that's sort of like a musical term about laying it down and stuff. And on Coffee Time, just a running joke from me and others repeating it was in the past, about laying it on down, and me making sort of songs saying lay it on down and all this business. And so it just made me think, has that guy from the Double R Club watched any of our videos and he was inspired by it? Seemed like it to me, but I don't know. The people who run the festival, like some of them knew who I was, I suppose, because um, they thanked me in a post for the whole event, for sharing posts and things like that, which I do a lot. So anyway, I'm not. It's not like it kind of makes me feel all like I'm a star or something. Although if you feel like that kind of way, uh, fantastic. But it's more just the ease and convenience of it to know people and be able to speak to them through this kind of a connection, um, an extension really of just social media. I'll just catch up with the comments. Hello, Will, and thank you for your comments as well. I'm glad that anyone's actually caught up with this video now and is putting stuff in the chat, because Sunday was always our day to do videos, but this is a bit later than usual. Will Graham says he would have gone, but I was busy that weekend. I enjoyed the 2018 and 19 Twin Peaks festivals I went to in Camden and Stoke Newington. I didn't know that you went to those. So I think this Genesis Cinema venue was a main reason for me going this year, alongside any other reasons, of course. And I think it's about the best venue you could get for this whole thing. I know they did it at a different social club in previous years. I went in 2015, and when it was at this Genesis Cinema, and then 2013 when it was in the Riverside Studios. But yeah, the Genesis Cinema I really thought was great. GPM, I don't know what your name is, but he says, you had a close encounter with me. You tapped my friend on the shoulder thinking he was someone else. I was sitting next to him. I only realised it was you as you walked away. Okay, right. Which I should have stood there longer then. Then I could have said hello to you. But I tapped him on the shoulder thinking it was another guy called Frank, possibly, who I wanted to say cheerio to. But that was, you were just sort of to the right of the entrance where you come up the stairs, and then you were in the VIP section, really, more, weren't you? So, or the creme de la creme ticket holders were in there. Um, so I remember that very well. But I would have liked to have said hello to you anyway. Um, yeah, I mean, where I when I tapped your friend on the shoulder, that was around the same area where I spoke to Sabrina as she went out as well. And then I also saw Christabel sashaying further up along the cinema, going up to the back, maybe. Maybe she was just going to watch or something with someone else. I'd like to talk to Christabel to an extent, really, just to quite simply say that I thought she was really good in The Return. And ideally, to tell her how I think her character carries some of the old feeling of Twin Peaks in her sort of 50s femme fatale and just high whole vibe she gives off. The way she conveys herself. I think that's there in the character, and somewhat intentional. In Frost's book, of course, she's Tamara Preston, and she's the initials of her name are, like Twin Peaks, Tamara Preston, and in Fire Walk With Me, we have Chet Desmond reversed, CD, Dale Cooper, and so yes, I know that Fire Walk With Me was written by a different person than Frost, but it's all sort of connected, in my opinion. I think these things are thought about, at least, even if it's only a subconscious type of thing. So, because I think that in The Return, it doesn't really. There's not many scenes in particular, or really hardly any, which bring back that same kind of vibe from the original show. And if that is done at all, I think it's through certain just brief scenarios or bits of music and scenes, for instance, like the one with Dougie, where he's just looking across the room outside the police station in Las Vegas, and there's a woman walks past in high heels, red high heels, and then there's the American anthem playing. I can't remember which anthem, but I think that gives off a little bit of a feeling of the sort of diner 50s music, melodrama aspect of the original show. And I think Christabel as a character in herself, she conveys some of that as well. I think that was sort of the purpose of her character. I'm sorry if he was very confused, your friend or anything. So, but yeah, thanks for. Anyway, I'm glad you recognised me, but it would have been good to talk more. So, what else can I say about the whole event? I mean, I did actually get offered a ticket for the Saturday as a kind of giveaway because of the sharing and online sort of help I've given in promoting the whole thing, really. And I suppose because they know me from 10 years ago or so, and I've given them a little bits of a gift before and things. So, but I actually said to them that it was really great that they were offering me a free ticket for Saturday as well. But since I was booked for the Sunday one, I was not going to change anything because to stay in the hotel on the Saturday night would have been twice the price of the Sunday night, which I'd already booked at the Travelodge, and obviously I'd have to change my train travel arrangements. So I just actually realised that I could recommend this ticket giveaway, freebie, to someone else who was more perhaps um, in need, of a free ticket than me, and so that's what happened. So I was glad about that. Anyway, in terms about the whole event and what you got for your book, um, before I went out and had a bit of a break and went out, I went back to the hotel and left my bag there and things, and my coat actually. Um, I had two of the large slices of cherry pie. Um, so those were definitely, adding up as far as my ticket price was concerned. I mean, I had two large slices of it, and then I actually sort of thought to myself, I don't really want to be eating a lot more tonight now. But I did actually go over the road and went to this. It was actually pretty depressing when I got in there and sat down, and I just ordered some chicken and rice, which I didn't really have a lot of appetite because of obviously eating the cherry pie and stuff. But I ate it anyway and felt better after that, because it's not much good just to be eating just sweet things and everything like that, and nothing else. Um, totally agree about Christabel in The Return. There's definitely a nostalgic kind of vibe with her first acting gig too. Yeah, there's just it's a sort of, there's different layers to it, I suppose. For it's one way of describing it, and sort of like a multitude of aspects to her character. In that, I think she conveys that kind of simple, sort of warm feeling, the reassuring kind of warm town feeling, that Twin Peaks gave off in the original seasons. Sort of where, the Bookhouse Boys were there in town, acting as a sort of defense against the darkness in the woods, which, of course, we never hear anything about the Bookhouse Boys in The Return. And so, with Tammy, she sort of has this real. She's obviously like supposed to be an intelligent character, as mentioned in Frost's book as well. But um, there's that scene in The Return where she's just looking at the picture. There's a photo of Cooper. That's actually, it's genuinely like it's a screen grab of Cooper sitting in the sheriff's station, and then she's got in the other hand the picture of Mr. C, his lineup picture, and there's a slight element of a comical aspect to perhaps that scene, but at the same time, it's just got this kind of naivety and simplicity about it that that makes sense in terms of the overall effect of her character, in that she's sort of looking at this embodiment of evil in Mr. C, as the bad Cooper, as such, or evil Cooper, but it's also giving you a sense of the ridiculousness of it, as in just her sitting there looking at these two pictures. It's just, it seems such a kind of ridiculous setup for her to be doing that, but it's almost like the first and second seasons themselves almost looking in on The Return, and then it's just it's just this untenable kind of connection where it doesn't quite add up. It doesn't make sense, you know. Uh, in the especially in the return, you know, everything is so dreamlike or more fantastical in comparison to the original show. In the first two seasons, you know, everything is um, tied up and like tethered through this viewpoint of the town as a being a realistic enough place. You know, a this you know all these characters live in Twin Peaks, and the goings on there are rooted in normal day to day affairs and crimes and soap opera situations and plots. Uh, even to James's adventures with Evelyn, driving off, and it becomes like a James sitcom happening within Twin Peaks. Whereas in the return, we're back in Twin Peaks, but nothing feels the same at all, or seems even tied to the more down to earth aspects of the original show. It seems untethered and just unreal as a whole. Even though we're coming back to these characters that we recognize and love from the original show, it just doesn't feel like we're reconnecting with them in any way, particularly the same way as we did in the original show. Just that's I would say that's my general feeling and sense of it. And that I have a real appreciation for Twin Peaks 2017. I'll call it the third season, and I would really have liked someone to talk to Krista Bell with that level of enthusiasm about her acting in it and her character. If it was me on the stage interviewing her and stuff, I'd want to really express that to her, how good I thought she was in it and how meaningful I felt like her character was. Also, in the sense that in that scene, she's holding a picture of Cooper that's taken from the original show. So in that sense, it it brings out more of that unreal aspect of it, where people are doing things that just don't make any sense within the structure of the show itself, and the different realities we're being shown, in the same way that Audrey starts dancing to what is announced as being Audrey's dance being played in the Roadhouse. So they've got the actual soundtrack from the show there playing in Twin Peaks. So does that mean we're not actually in the real town of Twin Peaks? We're in a recreation of the town from the original show, but we're very much on a soundstage or on a set, with the actors. I don't know. I mean, I don't really understand and can talk about the whole meta idea, but going back to the Krista Bell thing, they could quite easily have found a picture of Cooper which looked like an FBI taken photo or something of that sort, and then instead they actually took a screen grab from the original show. So that means that Tammy's got an image that's been given to her by someone who's worked production on the original show. So therefore, she's not actually looking at Cooper as a real character. She's looking at the actor playing a role, and then the idea of it's a bit like the "This Is a Girl" setup in Mulholland Drive, where it's like, okay, we're going to go this route with Cooper, but it just doesn't really make any sense why we're doing this, especially the route taken in the return. I can't get my head around Cooper becoming Mr. C. It's just, I mean, I think a lot of it is almost a sort of, if Cooper imagined himself to be this cool, evil character, this is how he would imagine himself, you know. Even to the extent that Carl McLaughlin suggested that they have the black eye, not the black eye, but the contact lenses, you know, which are black, like a shark's eyes. He suggested that idea for Mr. C, and so they brought that in. But you know, I'm just getting myself really tangled up in what I'm talking about now. Free donuts and cherry pie. Yeah, I didn't actually have any of the donuts, so maybe I was slightly restrained, but not very much. Hot damn, that pie does sound good. Yeah, the pie was absolutely great. I will say that. It made me want to try some other pies even this last week, so I bought some mince pies. Tammy had the eagerness and curiosity of a young Dale Cooper. Example, when they asked her to join the task force. Yeah, that whole scene was just one that I like and would want to watch again in the episode called Let's Rock. And the whole setup of her sort of being given that opportunity to join the Blue Rose Task Force is such a slowly paced, and it feels like an extended scene. You know, you're kind of going on a bit too long to that extent, with reaction and her being spoken to, and then her reaction, like really just either quiet or just sort of, you know, contemplating things and stuff. And it seems almost, again, like there's a sort of self awareness to the show where it seems unreal, or unreal is the best word I can use to describe it again. Yeah, the scene has a sense of what I would describe as explosive stillness. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I'll just say hello to Millie, by the way. Hello, Trapped in Plastic. On that video, I put of a compilation of shots that I got from this festival, including Hawk standing out in the street. I put your small animation of Laura wrapped in plastic at the start of it, and I did say thanks to Millie in underneath the video, so thank you for that. Just in case you've not seen that, but also when Hawk was outside, and I was sitting with Andreas and Alan, who I was glad to see both there. After 10 years, saw them again. It didn't seem like a minute in a way. And that 10 years ago, that was when I saw Sherilyn Fenn and got the photo with her. So I wish I got a photo with Christabel or something this year, but I did brush shoulders with her, so that'll have to be enough for now. But it was made up for by me talking to Sabrina, so that was good. Yes, it was a damn fine experience, Millie. You know, I'll carry on just talking about general things though. This GPM, yeah, by the way, GPM, I would like to know who you are, you know, so I could add you on Facebook or something like that. Is that all right? Is that possible, please? The explosive stillness phrase or choice of words comes from this last question that was put to the Lynch Creatives panel with Dwayne Dunham, Dean Hurley, and various others. And this guy just sort of went into talking about modern cinema, and he was saying that cinema now as a whole lacks certain things that was evident in Lynch's filmmaking, for instance. But I think, I mean, I thought like, is this actually like someone who's doing a bit of a joke when he started going into it? Not because of what the words he chose. You know, explosive stillness did sound kind of funny to me, but the fact that he went on for several minutes with his question. But I think that was just nervousness, and that he just couldn't stop himself. You know, I have to play the entire clip. Um, yeah, I have to bring the clip up on this show, but which I can do now. I think I can. Yeah, but it's not worth it. I'm not going to go into that now. You'd really have to ask him, but I think the whole explosive stillness idea is basically um, what he means by that is that Lynch has these moments in his films and everything that's and in Twin Peaks where there's sort of scenes that are very still generally in terms of shots and camera movement and everything, and then suddenly something explosive kind of comes out of that, out of the stillness, and therefore seems so much more dramatic and so explosive in only in comparison to the general the gentleness and sort of stillness of what we've already seen. So it's a sort of a contrast element. But I'd really have to talk to that person individually to know what he really meant by it. But it was pretty hilarious how he went into it, and then sort of just the way that he carried the question on for like quite a long time. Let me just see if I can find the clip because I have uploaded a bunch of them. I don't know how much of it includes though, because it's sort of edited. Exploring the concept of explosive stillness. Let's share it.
Hello, my name is Kehendia. Thank you all for coming in here and all you've been done for over the years. My question is for Dwayne Dunham, but could be attacked by anyone else. I'm going to start abstract. Explosive stillness, I find as like a signature thing that underpins David Lynch's work, a cinematic behavior. Explosive stillness, especially in Blue Velvet. That's the film that inspired me to go to film school. I came out and I got the opportunity to actually meet David Lynch in the Inland Empire premiere. And what he told me led me to become more of a...
Basically, name dropping and showing off immediately. That there's no need to mention that. That doesn't back up your theory, so just leave that out.
Story engineer, archaeologist, when dealing with editing, film editing. So is this to you, Dwayne? What you did in Blue Velvet really inspired me to edit it. It made me think that film is an editor's medium. I just want to find out. Hello, my name is Kehendia Yami. Thank you all.
It's very short.
And, all you've been done for the...
I mean, that's the start of his question, but the question went on for several minutes easily. Let's see how much we've got in this one. I didn't edit these. These are just done like randomly. But one of them's got nearly 400 views now, so I don't know what the purpose of these.
Like years of working for him and training and being open to these things, and you getting more tuned into like when it hits you, like, oh, this is the thing, this is the thing that is needed.
This is Dean Hurley, and his whole this whole part that he was expressing was pretty funny, and he's doing it in a a good comical way as well, talking about how Lynch would say, there's got to be a thing to do this. We've got, creatively speaking, he was talking about cleaning up audio and the different aspects of something that you've recorded. Lynch was talking about how whether you could sort of like go into it like strand by strand, and there'd be sort of some kind of sound program that would pick everything out in terms of, you could delete a certain amount of something in the recording, which was all generated obviously through a direct, recording, and so it's all part of one thing. And at that stage, you couldn't find that. But then 10 years later, Dean Hurley said that there was a program that came out that allowed them to do what Lynch had spoken about that period. In the sense of him saying, "Is there a thing to do this?" And so, anyway, the clip goes forward to the the explosive stillness guy.
So yeah, like I hope that's enough of an answer to your question without sort of revealing the secret.
That's a beautiful answer. I think we have one more question. I think that kind of rounds it off, I think, naturally. So we don't delay anything further.
Hello, my name is Kihendia. Thank you all for coming in and all you've been done for the years. My question is for Dwayne Dunham, but could be attacked by anyone else. I'm going to start abstract. Explosive stillness, I find as like a signature.
Explosive stillness. It's just when he said it in that way, that manner, I was just like, this has to be a joke now. It's like he's doing a Matt Berry bit or something.
Thing that underpins.
But everyone in the audience was so quiet and clearly in awe of everything. Or I think either they were in shock or something. They didn't know how to respond to this.
David Lynch's work, a cinematic behavior, explosive stillness, especially in Blue Velvet. That's the film that inspired me to go to film school.
All right, you've said it once. I'll just say it again because it's that great,
I came out and I got the opportunity to actually meet David Lynch in the Inland Empire premiere, and what he told me led me to become more of a.
The Inland Empire premiere. What do you mean, the one? The only Inland premiere there was, or a specific one in London or something? Come on.
Story engineer, archaeologist, when dealing with editing, film editing. So is this to you, Dwayne? What you did in Blue Velvet really inspired me to edit it. It made me think that film is an editor's medium. I just want to find out your relationship with him there in that film, the back and forth, where you begin, he begins and starts. I say this because explosive stillness.
I don't know if you heard me. That was me going. But like, I thought there'd be someone else in the audience, but I was shamed. I couldn't do that anymore because everyone else was quiet.
Is something that I want to bring back to film. I'm on my own journey.
He himself wants to bring it back. It's a one-man mission.
Sort of being a story engineer, and I think it's something for the future of the next generation. There's a lot of people dying, like David Lynch, directors. What does the new kids going to do in terms of when AI is coming, attention spans are dwindling?
I mean, do you see what I mean? That this is not putting a question to somebody. This is like you're outlining an entire essay to somebody in the form of a question that nobody can answer. It's farcical, really. But I mean, I give him credit for thinking these things up. But
maybe going back to film, real film, might be a solution. But I think explosive stillness, coming back to cinema, and David Lynch was the master of that. And I found Blue Velvet being one of the best films for that kind of framing, editing, scene construction. So to Dwayne, can you just talk a bit about how that happened in Blue Velvet?
Yeah, like Dwayne, can you talk about Like, come on. How patronizing can you get? Are you asking a question or you're ordering him to talk about something?
Wide shots, explosive, uneasy sort of stillness. How you
Explosive, uneasy sort of stillness. Amazing.
created that from with David Lynch.
Like years of working for him and training and being open to these things, and you're getting more tuned into like when it hits you, like, oh, this is the thing, this is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the start, and it's just on repeat, this clip. So there was more from Dwayne Dunham after that, but in this particular clip, it's been cut off. So I'm going to have to upload the whole thing, the question and answer, or to Dwayne Dunham, who, just to explain him, he's someone who's worked with Lynch for a long time and directed several Twin Peaks episodes, edited a lot of the original show, and then edited the entirety of The Return. And then you're going to ask him a question, but instead of asking a question politely and sort of, respectfully, saying, talk about. I mean, yeah, that was probably 5 at least mentions of explosive stillness in some format or another. 5, yeah, probably 6 million, I think. No, I'm not. And anyway, like you're saying, GPM, it could have been more succinct. I think he was just excited, quite clearly, and it's just, I give him a lot of credit for putting that question to him and talking in the audience, getting the mic, because they had to keep giving the mic to different people. I'm not trying to just make fun of the explosive stillness guy, but there is a funniness to it. You can't deny that. It did that particular question. Yeah, you're right, GPM. It was running the timeout, but it was what it was. So you could see when I'd moved the phone a little bit to the right, and there was that guy sitting forward in his chair. I could tell that guy was ready to just get out of his chair and probably like grab some cherry pie or a donut and throw it at this guy and saying, that's it, that's some explosive stillness for you, isn't it? Yeah. Well, probably restrained himself, so. Yeah, he was just excited and happy to be there, and it kind of got a bit carried away. So, a good question there from Millie, Trapped in Plastic. What was the highlight for you? I would say, because I didn't go on Saturday, I missed out on Christabel's performance, which apparently was really good, actually. And somebody said to her on the Sunday conversation with her and Sabrina and Jake Wardle and Michael Horse, they said that she was channeling Julie Cruz, and it was just brilliant. And they were just full of enthusiasm for her performance, but I missed that, of course. So I think that would have been a highlight if I'd managed to see that. But otherwise, in all sincerity, I was stood at the front of the cinema when I came out, and this is when I went out to go and take my bag to my hotel and check in and stuff and have a shower and just sort of get a bit refreshed. Even though at that point I just felt like lying on the bed and watching TV. But, of course I wanted to go back, but I was like quite shattered. Which was a good feeling though, overall, to be that tired. But, when I went out, I remember there's this sort of little VIP section at the front of the cinema. There's like a bit with seating for other people, some sort of sofas and stuff. And then there's a bit that was roped off. And Christabel was in that area, and I think she had a bunch of her albums and things around her, and someone was talking to her there. And And somehow on the sofa, I was like thinking, is that Christabel or is that someone who's helping her who looks like her? And he's smaller than her, but looks a lot like her. And then I thought to myself, maybe Christabel's not quite as big as you think she is, or tall overall. Like, I think I have this idea in my mind that she's really tall, like 6'1" or something, or like as tall as me. But clearly she wasn't. And she looked kind of a bit small sitting there on this sofa. And I figured out it was her. And so I kept doing double takes as I went out of the cinema, like kind of going out, and I felt quite happy being there and sort of nobody saying to me, if you just walked in off the street and are you a crazy person or something. So I just kept looking and then doing double takes, just like this, as I walked out, sort of getting them back into a state of explosive stillness and then going like this, really quick. And then I got to the very front and stood parallel with where it was Christabel sitting there. And I just kept looking like this. Is that her? Yeah, that's her. No, is that her? Is that her? Is that her? And obviously, I've got these things that I wanted to say to her about how good I thought she was in The Return and how much I liked her just general appearing in it and being in it, if that makes any sense. And perhaps I think I'm not particularly put out or intimidated in talking to somebody who's a big star like that. I'm joking now about big star and stuff, but we Twin Peaks fans see her as a big star, and I think perhaps that I'm not really that familiar with her music is slightly something that puts me off approaching her. But I think just in terms of conveying something of my enthusiasm for her in Twin Peaks, that would have been enough to talk to her. But I think I was pretty tired at that point. So I think Voltaire would be angered by me not talking to her, though. But that was a sort of that was a kind of a highlight for me because I don't know. I tried to do as many double takes there as possible. So that guy needed restraining, I think, GPM, yeah. It'd be quite funny if you just heard him carry on talking about explosive stillness, and then you heard the person who was sat next to him, if he was with somebody, and they just sort of went, "That's enough! That's enough!" That would have been like an actual explosive stillness moment. Explosive stillness. GPM, she's much smaller in person. I was shocked when standing next to her. Are we talking about Christabel now? At what point were you standing next to her? Yeah, I think maybe she just she makes herself seem taller because she's got like high heels on or something, and because of her general, the way her stature and everything, the way she's appears somehow. I don't think she's as tall as I thought she was. Yeah, I saw her on the aisle and stuff like that. But when she was seated in that sofa, I was genuinely thinking to myself, that's somebody who's working with her, helping her sell her sort of records and things. But they made themselves look almost identical to her, which would be a rather strange situation. But it was actually Christabel. I mean, the only thing that made me recognize it instantly was the fact that she had such like alabaster skin, like Josh, pale. But that's makeup in part, I suppose. But I think she's naturally pale. So. Same as me, really. I think she did look taller when I saw her in Manchester, but she's probably just got like, heels on. I think she wasn't wearing heels or something like that in London. Um, there was some event just before this one in London, and she was relying on some painkillers and things like that because she'd had some kind of dental surgery, and maybe in London as well, she was just quite relaxed and didn't want to be putting her heels on and stuff like that. But she had a sort of like a dark green velvety dress as well. She's got a definite presence about her, but a lot of it is probably coming from our sort of just preconceptions and how we saw her in Twin Peaks. Really, I would have liked if the panel and the person interviewing the Twin Peaks people could have been a little bit more enthusiastic and sort of really like full of praise for certain scenes in the return. I would have liked someone to talk to Hawk about the his scene in the toilet. You know, I'll just play the start of my video so you can see the bit where I was looking for Hawk in the toilet as well. But yeah, in being a bit more serious, Millie, I would say um, a big highlight was when I got the chance to just um, talk with Sabrina in passing, and she was just so friendly, and it's like she's like some kind of lovely relative who just sort of is all ears to listen to you and stuff. And I just kind of stopped her in passing after she'd been talking at this other, this whole Q&A, and so, but she seemed quite open and pleasant enough, all things considered, that I just stopped her in when she was probably ready to go home. So that was a highlight for me for sure. I thought Jake Wardle was really good on the panel as well, aka Freddie, with his green glove. Christabel was really good in it as well. That whole part I enjoyed probably the most of all the question sections. There was this thing called a Dreamscape of Mulholland Drive, which, funnily enough, I was standing at the front of the venue. I was with a couple of people I knew, they were getting coffee or something, and then all of a sudden I notice um, a familiar face, and it's Jeannie. Jeannie was there with her partner or boyfriend. She'd just come in, but I don't know if she saw me or not. But anyway, I did go and approach her and say hello to her, and I was sort of trying to be enthusiastic about getting them into this Mulholland Drive Dreamscape thing that was in a cinema. So they went into that alongside me, but that had a few bits and pieces that were all right. But when you got into the actual cinema, we were just watching sort of two shots of a road overlapping, and it just kept going on for about 20 minutes. And I was just thinking, is this been made by the guy who did the Explosive Stillness? I don't know. As you can see, Millie, that's your creation there. So yeah, that's Michael Horse just standing on the street.
No issue either way. It's as much as some people
Michael Horse there in the middle. I've put a filter on that which made it a bit too dark, but maybe I'll do another upload of it in some way. When Michael Horse was stood outside like that, at one point, some people came out and were taking photos of him, and he went up and put both of his hands on one of those small trees by the roadside, like this sort of thing. I don't know if he was trying to pick up the energy from the tree or something, or doing some kind of sort of prayer or some sort of thing. But that was interesting to see. I'd like to see the photos from that, to be honest. Yeah.
Hawk, are you in there?
So yeah, I was saying to like doing a bit of acting there, obviously saying, "Yeah, you're in there, Hawk," and then that's when a guy just appeared from inside the toilet stall and said, "Now that's what I call explosive stillness." And so enough said, really. As you can see, that's a real piece of cherry pie that I was tucking into there for you. Night blooming jasmine.
Go on. The car's right outside your house. It's been waiting, okay?
Go, darling, I'll be oh so lonely. I'll be sad and blue, cry.
You're not, I suppose you could just send your hate letter to me after.
That guy who was doing the act with the fire, he played. I mean, he looked a bit like him in this year, but he was there back in 2013, and he was dressed exactly like Bob. And as far as the fire was concerned, I kept waiting for him to do the end set piece, where he kind of spits out a long stream of fire. But he didn't do that. I don't know whether it's a safety issue or not, but he did it in 2013. We were in a smaller venue, and it made the whole venue smell like whatever sort of petrol or whatever he was spitting. But he didn't do that this year, so it felt a bit like kind of just like it didn't have really a proper anti-climax. But yeah, there were acts like that, and there was a woman doing burlesque and stripping a bit. But I couldn't see because I was quite a long distance from that. Here we go. I'll just show you. That was picked up from the front of the venue. That's actually from the website Welcome to Twin Peaks. Yeah, they showed Fire Walk with Me as well that evening, and then they had DJ Yoda and Tim Burgess from the band The Charlatans doing some DJing as well. But they seemed like a lot of people had just gone by that stage. So yeah, anyway, I've gone on for longer than an hour now, and I will come back and do another video soon enough. But thank you everyone for being on the chat today and putting some questions to me and reminding me as well of things to talk about. But overall, I really enjoyed the Gathering of the Angels David Lynch tribute. It was a really enjoyable event to be at, and I was thankful for everything that they had there and offered me, etc., and others. It was worth the effort of getting down to London and getting back in a matter of not longer than 24 hours, really, but it was a really enjoyable experience overall. So yeah, thank you for anybody for tuning in today. And of course, I'll be seeing you in the trees. So thanks for watching and cheerio for now. Bye for now.